TikTok's going mental, for want of a better word. We should get on that. He said, no, it's all kids dancing and all the rest of it. I said, well, I think we could do something there. You know, these are the people we want to reach to try and help. 7.2 million people later, and you go, this is starting to have a bit of an impact, isn't it?
All right, today I've got the top granddad with me. He's the real top G, Mark Tilbury. What's up, man?
Really nice to be with you, Ryan, here in Las Vegas. Fabulous Las Vegas.
Yeah, we've already had a good time. I was on your show. We ate some Korean barbecue, and now we're here.
Yeah, you cook really well, I have to say. It's so tasty. It's very, very good. I don't think we have Korean barbecues over in the UK, so it's only when I come to the States that we get a chance to have it.
Yeah. I want to talk about the UK and some differences between America and that later on in the show. You were just like bringing up things I'd never even heard of like the buildings and just like the branding of companies and things. So we'll get into that later on. But dude, so I became aware of you when I kind of started in social media. This was like in 2020 on TikTok. I'm watching and I start to see the granddad making content, and like not just any content, but you're like dressing up and doing these funny skits. And I'm like, who is this guy? And then you got your accent, which is normal for you, but not normal for us Americans. And I'm just like, what is this guy's backstory? Like, this is crazy. And it's blown up ever since.
Yeah, it's been very good. I mean, I think with TikTok at the time, I mean, we started pretty much the same time.
Yeah.
I was a little bit different on TikTok because it was just people dancing and doing silly little skits and things.
Yeah.
And they'd go scrolling past and they go, who's this old guy? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it was, I can learn something here. And it was quite good. And we tried to make it more entertaining with the education as well.
Right.
And it seemed to hit a spot. And that's taken us to 7.2 million followers on there at the moment.
It's crazy. Yeah, because I just remember you had like this suit and like, you're like a professor, kind of. And then I'd randomly see you in some random skit outfit doing, some kind of content around learning something with finance and everything else.
Well, the problem was if you're going to play a two-person skit, it's very difficult if you still remain in character for both. You've got to change it up. So the wigs are easy, the suits are easy, aren't they? And that's what we tried to do, just try and make it a bit easier to understand the basics of personal finance, really. That's what it all stemmed from.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So what were you doing before the skits and before you became the most famous grandpa on TikTok?
Well, thanks for saying that. I know I'm the most famous grandpa, and I'm not actually a grandpa, so let's put that out there. Not just yet.
I heard, but
I'm still hoping.
But that's what you were saying. You interviewed Andrew Tate.
That's right. We had a picture taken with Andrew Tate, and they put up the original top G. That stands for Granddad, by the way. And that was my son's job, who's sitting over there laughing his head off.
Yeah.
But it's good, if you can't make a little bit fun of yourself, who can you make fun of?
Right.
It's just
exactly.
fair game. But it all started, I've been in business for years, and I've been buying and selling model aeroplanes, model helicopters, all of that sort of stuff. I've manufactured in China, distributed to UK, Europe, USA a little bit, not a lot in the USA, and it's a journey, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's very enjoyable.
That actually makes me realize why you were looking at my model Batmobile out there. That's the type of stuff that you've been in business with.
Yeah, I'd have to put. I don't know if that one's radio control, but if it was mine, it'd soon have some radio control stuff in it, and it'd be doing 60 mile an hour straight up the hall here.
How was the build quality on it?
It looked okay, not too bad at all. I think it'd hold up.
Yeah. So tell me about the model business. I'm very curious. I've yet to meet anyone that manufactured model airplanes and like, how did that start?
Well, it started as a youngster. When I was young, the only bad thing, if I did something bad at home, the only punishment that would really hurt is you're not going flying with your father at the weekend. So, it's been from a very early age. I designed a lot of my models that I now sell nowadays. When I was 14, I used to do them in school lessons when I was bored and not enjoying school, and eventually they become something you produce and sell and do very, very well with. And I left school at 16, became a carpenter and joiner and cabinet maker. So tried to get a skill behind me before I went and did what I really wanted to do, which was set up a model business. So that's where we went.
So you and your dad were doing models. That was what you guys loved doing.
Yeah.
And then you quit school
Yeah.
Is that normal in the UK?
16, you could quit school at 16 then if you wanted to, but it was more usual that you'd carry on for what was called sixth form, which was another 2 years if you wanted to. But it really wasn't for me. I felt that getting out in the big wide world, learning I call it a school of hard knocks, those 2 years when you're out trying to find your way in the world. And I think it gives you a little bit of an advantage as soon as you realise that that's where you're really going to learn.
Yeah. So you got used to like building things with your hands, and obviously models are things.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my original job with the carpentry and joinery, I ended up leaving that because I was making, well, we call them wooden trash bins, but actually if you go around a Walmart, because I did the other day while we were here, and those same things I was making are still in Walmart, and they're actually all of the vegetable racks and the apple racks, they're on like these bins, these orchard bins, and that's what I was making for a long time. And I just got fed up with that, and I said, there's a better way out there. I need to break free. Put my quit notice on the manager's desk, who was bullying me a bit at the time, and I said, right, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to do my own thing.
So you go back to models, which you had always loved.
Yeah.
What was the process there?
Well, it was open a shop and get on with it. It's it's simple as that. I mean, a lot of people that start businesses or don't start businesses, I should say, are worried because they don't think they know enough. And I would say you never know enough. That's period.
You're always learning.
You're always learning, and you've got to throw yourself into it. Throw yourself into it 100% and get on with it. You're going to make mistakes, but they're not mistakes, they're lessons. If you can get some help along the way, nowadays that's more accepted. It wasn't so much then. So like yourself, if I wanted help in real estate, I'd come and ask you because there's no one better to ask. And you can get all that information very, very quickly, which will save you making those mistakes, and you can still learn the same lessons. For me, it was very much fall over, go step back 2, step back, step forward 3. You had to learn everything as you went. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So you start this business yourself, right? I mean, you're like 18 years old at this time.
It's about 20 at the
20
point
at
I
this
did
time.
that, yeah.
And you kind of like, you just go open a shop, and then how did you learn the other skills of actually selling?
Well, there was a little bit more
everything?
to it than that. I worked part-time for a model shop on Saturdays. I used to.
Okay.
I actually ended up selling all my time as probably an 18, 19-year-old. There was no more time that I had left because I was selling it either flipping cars in the evening. I was working as a carpenter and joiner during the day. I'd work in a model shop on Saturdays, and I'd teach people to fly models on Sunday. So I'd actually run out of time, and I'd come up with a plan that I'd open a shop because that really was my passion at the time. But I shared these ideas with the guy I was working for, and lo and behold, he stole my ideas. He opened that business himself, which was pretty gutting, to be honest. But I wasn't quite in that right position. I hadn't built up that fund to be able to go and do it myself at that time.
Right.
And having that little delay actually probably was a good thing, because he got bored of what he was doing and then sold it to me anyway. And he even stole the name, which is amazing as well. So,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But we still talk now, we still get on,
No
it's
bad
one
blood.
of those things, no bad blood, no.
So how many years have you been doing models now?
Well, that's going to be 35 years. It's
So
a fair time, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Which is unusual nowadays. We spoke about this over lunch, that my generation certainly was more a generation of what you do is what you continue to do. So theoretically, I should have continued to be a carpenter and joiner because that's what people did, carried on with the skill that they learnt. I broke that, but certainly with the models, that was what you would probably continue with. But there's a limit. I mean, there's riches in niches, without a doubt, but markets change, so the whole plan was to have multiple shops, then maybe franchise off shops, and of course the retail model has been destroyed by the internet, so that had to be pulled back in, then you had to reassess and start again. And I don't think people realize how hard it is when you're not set up as a web-based business, how hard it is to change into a web-based business. And you've only got to look at a lot of big businesses out there. I mean, take Kmart, we mentioned them earlier. They never got into web-based business, and probably was part of the reason they fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of businesses have disappeared because it's not easy to evolve.
Yeah.
But evolve we did. So
Yeah. I even see just in the last 10 years of me being in real estate, just how much it changes, like every 2 to 3 years. Like I can drastically see like this is how I used to get deals during this time. It no longer works that way. This is how we get deals today. I know 2 to 3 years from now, this will not be the way. We're going to have to do this. And just even the last 3 years now being on social media and seeing how much of a change social media
That's
has
every
made.
6 months on social media.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it changes so quick and the algorithms, and you're like, wow, if you don't adapt to what they want to promote, you kind of become irrelevant. So it's just like, as a business guy, I realize you're always having to change. Like my ABC is not always be closing, it's always be changing.
Yeah.
It's because you have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. You stand still, you become a dinosaur, and you become insignificant, and you disappear.
Yep. So I'm just curious, like what kind of revenues and margins do like the model business have?
Well, obviously it's a niche business. So, in the UK, it's probably about 80 million a year, something like that, I would say, approximately. We have a reasonably good chunk of that, but that is spread out over model railways, radio control model aeroplanes, helicopters, everything. So obviously the drone sector took a fair bit of that chunk of that market away from us.
That's a very similar thing.
Yeah, and that's sort of come and gone a little bit to a certain degree. I think it'll rise again, maybe for personal deliveries and things like that. But once someone's got one, they've got one, and that sort of end
It's
of
not
story.
like a drone's not like a collectible. It's
Not
like a
really.
tool.
Yeah, once you've got it, you've got it.
Whereas
Yeah.
a model airplane, people probably buy a ton of them.
Yeah, one cell leads to another. It's just the way it is. I mean, we've got a really good business with model trucks, and you say, well, why is model trucks a good business necessarily? But they'll buy the cab, then they'll buy the sound units to go with it, then they'll buy the metal stack exhaust to go on it, then they'll want the trailer, then they'll want a sound system, and then they'll go, oh, I want another one now because I want the latest one that's come out. So that's a very good part of our business. But the margins are always being squashed, like in any business, and particularly with the internet now. So that forced me to travel to China and actually get the designs I designed back when I was 14. Well, one of them was in a geography lesson. I can remember even sitting there drawing this model aeroplane out, and I got that made in China, and we import that and distribute it, and that's still our best-selling model aeroplane. So it's
something
amazing.
you made 40 years ago.
So long ago. I can remember cutting out the plywood sides of this model airplane in a woodwork lesson.
Wow.
So it's quite amazing, really.
You know what I've realized? So have you ever read the book Good to Great?
Sorry?
Good to Great. It's
No,
a book
I haven't,
by Jim
no.
Collins. And he basically, it's very famous here in America. He talks about why American companies can go from like good to great and how they have this longevity. And so he has this thing called the hedgehog concept, which I teach our students all the time because it resonates with me so much. But basically he has these 3 circles, okay? Circle number 1 is passion, like purpose, etc. Circle number 2 is, hey, is this your money-making driver? Can it like make you what you want to make? And circle number 3 is, your talent. How good are you at doing this thing, right? And so most businesses that become great have all 3 of those going on, like the CEO, the founder, like he resonates with all 3 of those. But most people working only have like one, right? They simply work their job because they have to. It makes money. They don't love it. They're not really even that great at it. It just pays the bills. If you're lucky, you might be 2 out of 3, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe it makes good money. You're good at it, but you don't necessarily love it. Or maybe you love it and you're good at it, but it doesn't really make that much money, right? That's like baseball for me in the minor leagues. I was good at it. I loved it, but I wasn't making money. But, for me now, I have like pretty much everything I do. It's got to be all 3 circles. So like, let's just take the education business. I'm good at it. I love it. And it can drive an economic engine, can make money. So it's all 3. With the model business, you've loved it since you were 14 years old. You were obviously good at it. You created a design 40 years ago that still works today. And then, it's been a career. It's made you what you are today. Like, that's amazing to know that, like, at 14 years old, you had already figured out something that was going to be that good.
Yeah, and it's fun, isn't it? I mean, I like business to be fun. Obviously, you've got to change it from time to time to keep relevant. But certainly the fun aspect is what it's all about. And I get a lot of pride and pleasure from going to a model club to do a talk or to fly in one of their events. And there's all my models sitting there. And I think, well, they came from the pen I drew
Wow.
and had manufactured.
That's rewarding.
Yeah, and they're just lined up.
Do people
you know.
even know like that it was you? Like,
Yeah, sometimes, not always. You know what it's like. Sometimes you
Yeah.
get recognised, sometimes you don't. And
Yeah.
but it's nice. Yeah, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. So you did this business for a really long time, and you're still doing it today, right?
Yeah, still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to compete with model helicopters, and we used to travel all over the world with those, literally everywhere. I've flown so many times at Muncie, Indiana, I believe.
Okay.
They've got the AMA out there, which is the American Model Association. They had world champs and national championships. I was actually contracted to fly in your national championships every year. So it was good fun. I got a lot of traveling done, and that led to film work as well. So I don't know if you've seen the film Black Hawk Down, but I flew the Black Hawk models that were used within that film. So, yeah, everything leads to something, doesn't it? And you don't know where it's going to lead to. You only know when you look back at how those, different things have joined up along the way.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So you do this business the whole time. What possesses you to get on TikTok?
Well, it's quite a long story, but I'll cut it as short as I can. My son's a videographer, so he was filming for a lot of people pre-COVID, and obviously COVID came along, and he couldn't film for anyone. All of the seminars and different things that he was filming at, that was stopped overnight. And we were on a skiing trip in France, and we generally go to a chalet type situation where there might be other people, other families there. And there was 4 young lads, and I say young lads, 18 to 20, sitting around the table after dinner, and they basically wanted to know about business, investments, and various different things. And by the time the conversation had finished, Curtis had said to me, he said, well, look, Dad, you've been talking for 2 hours there, and they were lapping that up. That was information to them. I said, well, surely this is common knowledge. This is what you've learned at school now, surely. And he went, no, you don't get any of this at school, none of it. I said, well, surely we should get it out there, because it's important, isn't it? I mean, of all the things you're taught to go out, learn at school, go out and earn a living, you're going to earn money.
Yeah.
Why is no one telling you what to do with that money?
Right.
Or at least advising you what you could be doing with that money. And that head start is huge. If I had a financial education system at school, even if it was half an hour a week, I would have been in there lapping it up, that's for sure. So that was the stimulus to get onto YouTube. And when I was in China, because the equivalent of TikTok was going absolutely mad out there, I came back, I said to Curtis, I said, look, TikTok's going mental, for want of a better word. We should get on that. He said, no, it's all kids dancing and all the rest of it. I said, well, I think we could do something there. These are the people we want to reach to try and help. And it just went absolutely mad, and it exploded.
So you just did it because you saw a need for it? Like there wasn't anything beyond that?
There was nothing beyond that. Literally, that's what it started. It started no reward, just get the message out there. If we can help 200, 300, 400 people to improve their life, that would be great. 7.2 million people later watching them, and 1 billion plus views of TikTok, and obviously 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube, and you go, this is starting to have a bit of an impact, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's changing things.
Yeah.
When we started, I don't think people looked at, buying a course or learning any of this stuff was important. And now we've got people saying, come on, Mark, we want to learn more from you, get more information out there, go and meet more people, interesting people like you, Ryan, for example, because, you might not know how inspirational you are, but you are an inspirational person, and people look up to you. And, the more people that see your message, my message, and other good influencers' messages, it's only a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It is literally leveling people up.
Yeah. It's crazy. We were talking about that at lunch today or maybe it was on your podcast too, about just like when I got started in flipping couches 10 years ago, there was no YouTube or TikTok talking about this stuff. Like, I was kind of lost in my life trying to find an answer to how I could provide for my wife, who I'd just gotten married to. And there wasn't really any answers. I was just like, I think this might work. And I got lucky that it did. But today, it's like, man, you have no excuse for not making 6 figures. There's literally no excuse. I don't care how you grew up, what city you're in, what your skin color is, what you're, whether you're scared or introverted. It's like the answers are there. And
If you want it enough.
if you want it enough, the answer's there. And there's lots of answers. You don't have to do real estate. Like, I would love you to do real estate. But there's like 100 other things.
Yep.
You just did a YouTube video with like 7.5 different ways to go make money.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's just things you can do on your phone as a teenager. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, nothing in that is difficult. You know, you just got to get in, learn it, get on and do it. And then you've got the physical stuff as well, like what you say about the couch flipping. I mean, I said to you, I think earlier today, you know, I have a furniture depot next to one of my shops, and they are forever bringing back second-hand furniture because that's part of their service. They provide the new furniture, take away the old, and they put it all in a dumpster. It all goes in a dumpster. And even I look at it and think, should I create a business to sell that on? But really, it's a youngster's business. All they need is a pickup.
Yep.
You know, and the thing I took from your video about couch flipping, which I thought was great, is free pickup, free delivery.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives everyone the chance to buy from you, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know what I learned about that too? And I didn't know this until I've been in years of business, but the more frictionless you can make a transition or transaction and the more ease you can create for the person buying from you, it just makes it simple. Like the easiest sales I've ever had in my life where I was like, hey, buy this and you don't really have to do anything, right? Like, you know, get this thing and, you know, this is whether it's free or whatever the case is. But, you know, the harder sales are like, hey, well, if you buy this, there's work involved and you're going to have to do this. It's like IKEA, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're going to get this, but you're going to have to put some work into doing this. Or you just buy the person to build it for you too and you're good. Like having the ease of use is like such a huge point in business.
I mean, we spend a fortune on the website every year saying, how can we make this process of buying easier, more streamlined? Because you can see the drop-offs. The drop-offs are generally for just one reason, because it's too grated a process. So the money's well spent because the sales go straight up every time you make that a more seamless purchase.
Yeah, that's why I think Steve Jobs always talked about it with Apple. He was like, how do we just make this more simple? Can we make this happen in one less click? And I see that now a lot in business, especially with websites. Like I'm like a lot of my websites still need work. I just don't have time to like go through every single one of them. But when I look at it, it's like, okay, what's the clear one action I want this person to take from the website? You know, I don't want them to have like decisions to make. It's like, no, this is it. Just book a call. That's it.
Yeah. Make the process smooth as silk.
Yeah. Because I've gone through and analyzed a bunch of other websites and I'm like, so I'm confused about what you even want me to do as a customer. Like, do you want me to like buy it now? Do you want me to book a call? There's like 4 other products. Like, which one do I even buy? Like, I don't know. And it causes confusion. Simplicity is like the key.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So you guys are building this social media channel. You got an amazing team. You know, I was with your son Curtis and the rest of the team, and you know, just talking about ideas and how you guys plan to grow and all that stuff. Like, what is the plan at this point?
Well, we had to obviously formulate a plan because it's developed into a bigger thing than it was intended to be.
You were just trying to help people out.
Yeah, which is a great thing, and that's still the key thing that we're supplying. You know, everything on YouTube will be free. That's as simple as that. But what we'd like to do is obviously build up some form of membership as well at some stage, so that we can give more personal one-to-one type tuition or help, should we say, particularly in the business space, because for us, when we talk business, people seem to be less interested. I think there's a little bit of being frightened about being in business. As we mentioned before, a lot of people think they need to know everything, which they don't need to do, but a little bit of guidance along the way certainly helps. And I think the membership would be sort of more around that sort of area, trying to help just that little bit more, so we're not painting such a broad stroke, as it were, and we can pull the guys in that really want to give different things a go.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this at lunch, but it's like I've always focused on entrepreneurs and real estate investors. And it's like, you know, the pool is limited versus if you talk to just normal everyday people about saving money and everything, like your pool becomes very, very wide.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how you guys are kind of navigating through the next stage. Cause I'm personally thinking about what's the next stage for me. Like what are we going to do? What's the focus? Who are the people we're trying to impact the most? Because you can't please everyone. No.
And I've always said you can only save a certain amount. So say you're earning $30,000 a year and you saved every penny, you've saved $30,000. So that's your cap. You can't save more than that.
Yeah.
But there's no limit to how much you can earn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so let's bump that up to 100,000, 200,000, a million. You know, they're all achievable figures in today's economy, without a doubt, if that's what you want to do. But if you see that ceiling as being, well, I'm a £35,000 sort of guy, or dollar sort of guy, you know, that's where you're going to sit.
Yeah.
Okay, it might go up a little bit. But if you're going to sit at that and moan about it, really don't. Yeah. You know, because you're happy with it, you're comfortable with it. If you're not happy with it, there's opportunities out there.
Yeah. WealthCon is coming to Hollywood. If you've ever been to any of my events, you know they're life-changing. We get the best speakers, we have the best venues, we have the best parties, after parties, and networking that you could imagine. I've met so many people who ended up becoming business partners of mine at my events. I've made great relationships, and the people who have attended have done the same. And so I want to see you at my next one in Hollywood, California, April 4th to the 6th. It's going to be absolutely incredible. We've got speakers like Chris Crone, Lewis House, Tatiana Landano. We've got Vanessa Lau. We got Robuilt from Bigger Pockets. The list goes on and on. We have a huge lineup of speakers, and I want you to be there. So if you want to attend the event and learn more, go to wealthcon.org. Once again, you can go to wealthcon.org and go learn more about the event and register today. Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today. Well, I'll tell you, so I've had this philosophy and I've never really known how to make it simple until recently. And we're getting ready to kind of roll this ideology out across everything that I do, especially with the Wealthy Way. But essentially, it's 3 M's: make, manage, multiply. And so for me, I've always said, okay, step 1 is to make money. How the heck are you going to go about making money? And what is the amount of money to make? For me, I don't think you should be messing around with all these different things until you're making at least $250K a year. Figure out what's the one skill that you're going to develop to make $250. If that's flipping houses, wholesaling, if it's going to be opening up your own model airplane business, if it's going to be whatever, right? Being a social media creator and getting paid that way. Cool. I don't really care, right? We have tools to help you get there in different ways, but I want to see you make at least $250,000 a year. And you could do that as a solopreneur. It's not crazy to do. You just got to be open to all the different ways and what your talent and passion is. The second thing is manage. Okay. So how do you go to the next level? Well, it involves hiring and managing people. You can get to 250 on your own, but you ain't getting to $1 million by yourself. So you got to now learn, how do I hire? How do I manage? How do I actually grow a business? Not
for
a
lot
job.
of people, that is a hard stage. Making that first employment is a major step.
Hard.
I mean, I was quite fortunate. I got somewhat forced into it because where I opened the store, we had to operate 7 days a week, and you can only do that on your own for so long before that's an impossibility. So I was forced into it, and once you've done it once, you go, well, actually, this is helping. I've got Tuesdays off now. Oh, get someone else. I've now got Wednesdays off. Now, I may still have been working on those days, but it was different work. So that gave me that break. But it's making that jump, isn't it?
It's super hard to make the jump. And I've seen a lot of realtors who are good. They'll make a couple $100,000 as realtors, and they never scale beyond that because they never figure out oh yeah, I should probably build a team. I need a TC. I need like these extra people to get to the next level. They're scared to pay people and invest in,
Well, they
marketing.
see it as a cut. I think a lot of people see it as a cut in their own money.
Yeah.
Because they're earning, say, $250, and I take someone on for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to make less 50, but
Yeah.
they don't see about how much more that person's going to make for them.
Yep.
They should easily be covering themselves and making them a bit more money. So
Exactly. So that is the next stage for, entrepreneurs and people. It's like, all right, well, how do I learn to manage and hire people? Once you figure that out and you've built a business, to me, then it becomes the multiply aspect. So multiply can be multiple things. It could be, number one, taking the money you've made and multiplying it through investing. So I'm always going to be a big believer that real estate is like the best long-term investment. I think it's going to always be better than the stock market. It gives you tax benefits. It is real. I love real estate.
yeah,
And-
I do as well. I
Yeah.
love real estate. I love other types of investing as well, but I certainly love real estate.
Yeah. So like my main thing is, okay, after I help you build a business, let's start investing in real estate. Whether you buy it, you do Airbnb, whether you invest with me, like I don't care. Get into real estate or reinvest, multiply, and scale your business to just new levels. You've broken the 7-figure mark. Okay, how do we get to 8? Like that's going to require a lot of capital and a different skill set to multiply. And it's just like now it's become so obvious to me that that's the path of growth for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, for those that want to get that high as well, because
Yeah.
you have to keep in mind some don't want to get that high. They literally
Right.
do. I mean, you've got your comfort guys at your $35,000, $40,000 a year.
Yep.
You've got your entrepreneurs or startups that they're going to be happy with their $250,000. So some of those guys are happy in those areas.
Right.
But when you really want to make money so that you can live the real true life that you want to live, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, and two, I think a lot of it, and this is my call to entrepreneurs and people, like, look, if you're good making $250, fantastic. You can live a great life at $250. The problem is you can't really have an impact on a lot of people at $250, at least financially, right? You're going to go retire your parents. You're going to go and buy them a house and support all these things. Like,
It
no,
won't do it.
You can't. So if you're just content for you, that's one thing. But for me, I'm like, hey, even where I'm at today, I'm like, dude, I want to go start churches over here. I want to go and support this. I want to, I need lots of money to go do this. And so I got to keep scaling and growing and, seeing what I can possibly do. And so that's my challenge to everyone else is like, yeah, it's good to think like, what's my financial freedom number? But what else can you do beyond that?
And be what you can be as well.
Yeah.
It's a definite thing. I think too many people sit back and are happy with what they've got. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more potential in
Way more potential.
so many people, 90% of people,
That's why I asked you. I go, dude, so like, I mean, you guys are already doing so good and it wasn't planned. Like, what do you think the potential is?
Well, the potential is huge. I mean, I'll be scaling, I have been scaling back on my business activities. I mean, I was a victim as well of working too much in my business and not on my business. There's a whole load of things you can learn from courses nowadays and
Yeah.
YouTube and everything else that make a difference nowadays to what I had. And you can be wrapped up in your business for too long and not working on your business. So I've just managed to change all of my businesses around now so they operate. So we can come out here, for example, we're over here for 10 days talking to people like yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the ability to be able to do that. Once you've got things in place, that those businesses can run themselves. So now we can look at what we're doing on social media. And as my son will say, we're to the top of stage 1, shall we say, although we didn't know it as a stage at the time. But it has developed into a business and it will create a lot of wealth, that's for sure.
Yeah. So for a guy like you, I think it's great because I see all these people, especially because I come from the entrepreneur investor world. And so like I mingle with a lot of successful business owners. And one of the big things they say is like, yeah, like I would do it, but I'm too old. I'm too, even like young guys. They say, I'm too young. I don't have the experience yet or the resume to be talking about things on social media. And so it's just like, you're either too old or you're too young. Or if you're a guy like me and you're running businesses, you're like, I'm too busy.
Or the market's too high, or the market's too low.
It's too saturated.
Yeah, there's always an excuse.
Yeah, there's some kind of excuse. And then, honestly, you didn't know this, but you've always been my example. You and Cardone as like guys, I'm like, look, you're not too old, okay? Look at this guy. Look at Grant. Do you think that they do it because it's just like for fun? Like, no, they do it because it's worthwhile doing. Like, it's going to be good for them, overall. It helps people. It's going to be good for their business. Like, there's no reason not to do it.
There's no downside.
There's no downside.
No downside. And having a personal presence, and it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is nice. You
it
get
opens doors.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. How have you guys said you went on the Strip? Have you been recognized here in Vegas?
Actually, no. We did some work in Orlando at the end of last year at FinCon, and that was very interesting. It got recognized so much. It's unreal.
I went to FinCon in 2021.
Yeah.
It was in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it was a good experience. And also we got recognized in the Walmart in Orlando as well. So, yeah, it's nice. It is nice. It's nice that people recognize you and say, well, I like it when they actually say, hi, Mark Tilbury, I've watched your videos. It's great. Sometimes it's just, you're the finance guy from TikTok.
Yeah.
Where's your wig? But, it's nice to be recognized without a doubt. And if you can have a conversation with those people and they genuinely say that's changed my life or changed the way I look at my life and how I'm going to go about doing things, that's great. It's like seeing the model airplanes you've designed sitting on a flying field and you've got half the club flying your products.
It's crazy.
It's a similar thing, isn't it? You think, wow, that you've made an impact, and that's nice.
Yeah. So what do you think people who are just like, because I know you do a lot of content for younger people, right? You're doing teenagers and young men and different things like that. So it's like, what would you do right now if you were just a 18-year-old kid?
Well, I'd be going around to that furniture depot that I know, and I would be taking every single bit of furniture they take in as second-hand furniture, and I'd be flipping it straight away. I mean, I wouldn't even need to think about it. I'd be down there and doing it because I know there's an opportunity there. I'd then be down to, we got a plumbing supplier in the same town that my business is based in, and he always moans to me, we've got all this kit, it doesn't sell anymore because it's out of date, and he can't sell it because he wholesales. You're having one or two things, it's a waste of time. I could go down there, I could clear all that gear for him, and I could sell that. There's so many opportunities, you can't list them all. And you've got your eBays, your Craigslists, so many ways to sell product.
Yeah.
You don't need a shop anymore. When I started, I had to have a shop, had to have a store, all the overheads of that. It was a big commitment. Now, there's no real commitment, is there? You can go and start.
Yeah.
What is there to lose?
Yeah.
That's what you got to tell yourself at 18. What have you got to lose? Say it goes wrong. So what? Your mates take the mickey out of you. But eventually, they're not taking the mickey out of you anymore because you're off on holiday for 2 weeks to Puerto Rico or wherever it happens to be, and they can't afford to go. It all turns around, doesn't it?
Yeah, what's funny is I found this especially with young people where they're so scared to take a risk, right? And now that I'm a little older now and I have kids and been married for a while, I'm like, yeah, I see why people become less or more risk averse as time goes on, right? Because you have more responsibilities and liabilities and you have less time to recover and make it back and all that. I'm like, I get it. And then I look back and I'm like, yeah, when you're 18 or 21, you literally have nothing to lose, period. And I just kind of look back when I get DMs and stuff, people will be like, man, I don't know, like, I don't have money and all this. And I'm like, to me anyways, we may differ on, I'm like, well, then go get a freaking credit card. Like, just take a chance.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? You have credit card debt. You go bankrupt at 21 and like you're good when you're 23. Like it's off your record immediately. Like you have no kids, you have no wife, you have nothing to lose.
Absolutely nothing to lose and everything, absolutely everything to gain.
Yeah.
By taking a chance.
If it goes right,
it's
huge. If it goes wrong, you have nothing to lose.
Well, You even have a lesson from it, don't you? So you haven't even lost. You have a lesson to have learnt from what you've done, and then when you move on to the next thing, that may well help you. You don't know that at the time, and you can have 10 failures, but at the end of the day, they've all taught you a lesson. I sort of blame school a little bit, because school tells you you're a failure if you haven't passed an exam. You've failed. Well, the failure rate might be at 50%.
Yeah.
Well, you learnt 50% of it.
Right.
You took 50% of the lesson in. You didn't learn enough, so you can learn a bit more. So have you really failed? You haven't failed. And all this failure, I think, stems from school, and being afraid to fail. And then if you're afraid to fail, you won't try. And if you don't try, you can't.
Failure's great. It is like the best lessons I've ever had have been failures. And failures are embarrassing. They can lose friendships or people. They can, there's things that happen from failure that, suck to deal with. But in the big picture of failure, it's always good, in my opinion, as long as you make it good.
Can you name a top entrepreneur in the USA that hasn't failed along the way?
Yeah, no. And like they also fail big.
It's huge.
Way bigger than I've ever failed.
Yeah.
It's funny because I got an email from a fan, and he was like, hey, Ryan, I'm 21. I feel like a complete failure. And this kid, he goes, I had built up $100,000 and it's all gone now. I don't know how he built it up. Maybe he bought GameStop or freaking Bitcoin or something. And it's not there anymore. Right. And he's like, I feel like my life's over. I lost it all. There's I'm just set back so far now. And I literally emailed him back, and I don't know if it was the right response or not, but I'm just like, what are you talking about? You're 21. Are you kidding me? Quit moping. Don't come to me all sad because you lost $100,000 at 21. You're alive. The fact that you even had $100,000 at 21 is insane. I never had $100,000 when I was 21.
You're in the land of opportunity.
Yeah, you've made $100,000 before at 21. You don't think you can make it again?
I do think there's a problem as well, though, with people that have made a lot of money out of crypto and stuff like that. They think they've cracked the game and they've made all this money and they're super smart and the best guys on the block. But realistically, it just came to them. It was easy money. It's not going to happen again.
It's like the lotto.
Yeah, it's just easy money. Yeah. And the problem with that is they haven't learned any lessons along the road to that money. So they could lose it all and not make it back.
Yeah.
Whereas I always say, if you've made money by learning a skill and gradually developing that skill, and for whatever reason you've lost that money, you haven't lost those lessons.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many entrepreneurs you bump into, they've probably all lost 100,000, a million, or whatever here or there.
Yeah.
But every one of them will tell you within a year, within 2 years, whatever the timescale needs to be, they'll be back because those lessons don't change. The lessons they've learned to make that money are done. They're ingrained, and you'll get there again. So shouldn't be too afraid of failure.
No, I've lost millions on just bad decisions or bad investments. Crypto, I've lost lots of money in crypto.
You say you've lost that on bad decisions. On the decisions you've made and made decisions on, you've made a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
And not making a decision is a fail.
Yes.
Just make a decision. Because if you just wait for that decision to make its mind up for you, I guarantee it'll be a bad decision.
Yeah.
If you make the decision, even if you say it's 50-50, and it's got to be better than that because you're weighing up the odds,
Yep.
if you're making that decision, it's less likely to be a fail than if you let the decision make itself up. And I think too many people are a bit wishy-washy. Oh, that's how it went. How unlucky was I? If you made a decision and it was, the wrong one, you've learned from it.
Yeah. And when people also would rather have the decision made for them, right?
That's it.
I've even seen that with some of my employees and just different people with what do you think we should do? I'm like, why are you asking me? I'm paying you to make decisions. Don't ask me. Go figure out what to do. And because they don't want to be blamed if it goes wrong.
Well, it's a blame culture that goes along with the fail culture, isn't it? And that is a big problem. But again, I would always say to my employees, make the decision. If you need me, give me a call. I'm on the end of the line. But make the decision. If you make a decision wrong once, I'm sort of okay with it. As long as you've thought about it and done the right thing, but it turned out bad, do exactly the same thing again, exactly the same thing, then that's not
Yeah.
acceptable, because you should have learned that lesson.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. You know, I got that mindset from baseball, right? It's like, man, if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a really good player. And so I kind of got used to that of like, yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to get out. Things aren't going to work out. Like, actually, the majority of time, things are not going to work out. And so it became this thing where you get used to it. And I tell all of our students at Wealthy Investor, where I'm like, hey, when you're trying to go get a real estate deal, okay, 99% of them will not pan out. You're going to make offers on all these properties, and 99% are not going to work. But guess what? The 1% that do work going to make you a lot of money. And it's a volume game, right? And I tell people who are trying to create content, I'm like, look, when you start out, you're not going to get views. Like, it's going to take time.
You got to learn the process.
Yeah, you got to get better. You got to build the skill. And that's why it becomes like, if I was to lose all my money or like lose all my followers and get banned, I know I could build them both back up because I have the skills. I have the skills to go make content again. I got the skills to go make money again. It will be fine.
Learn the lessons.
Yeah, you learn the lessons. So what are your biggest, I guess, investments, right? Because you're talking about investing all the time. So, you know, you got into business, and what have you been putting your money towards?
Well, most of my money's in real estate.
Okay.
So I'm a man after your own heart.
Yeah.
And that's split between residential and commercial. Commercial is great because it's long-term tenants and it's self-repairing leases, so that's always very, very good. I'm looking at a new way of doing commercial purchasing, which is a bit similar to house hacking, but with commercial properties. So we've got quite a lot of big commercial buildings available at the moment that would be easily split up as starter sort of units, so startup companies and that sort of thing. So we can divide it up, and then the business rates are very, very low on those. So that's something we're looking at.
So are you
currently
looking at like executive suites? That's what we'd call them out here.
I don't think so much executive suites. I'd say it's more, you know how people use personal storage units like you did with your couches. So they do that sort of thing, and there's a point where that business needs to go to the next level, but it's not really ready for a big commitment of a big building. So we can split these buildings up into, I think it's 1,200 square feet. They become rates free.
Okay, so they're their own separate unit.
Yeah, so they've got a separate unit within a building, and that works very, very well. So that's our next play on that sort of thing. And of course, residential is always very, very good. You know, it's not necessarily the big money earner straight away, but long term, it just keeps feeding away, which is very, very nice. And the property market in the UK is very good as well, because it's a scarcity market. There's not enough houses. There's not likely to be enough houses anytime soon. So the values are going up through the roof, and I don't see them backing off anytime soon. Yeah, maybe 10% during 2023, but not an awful lot, that's for sure.
So where are the values at in the UK? Like, what's the median single family home?
Well, what you'd call a family home would be, we would describe it as a 3-bedroom semi-detached. So that's like a duplex, really, but it'd be bought as a single unit.
Okay.
And that would be about, in dollars, 425,000, something like that,
so
as an
similar
average.
to the US?
Pardon? Similar, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's obviously in a desirable area. I mean, I only ever buy residential properties where schools are close, you know, connections are good. It's going to be a family renting it. So again, I'm after a long-term rental. I can't be bothered. We keep changing rentals all the time.
Yeah.
And also that's where the growth is, I think, in the market, because that's a desirable property of your average guy in the street. So
Right.
that's what we look at.
What would something like that rent for?
Probably not quite enough at the moment if we're buying at the moment. That's why a little bit of a drawback would be quite nice. But I'd say somewhere between, I've got to put this into dollars for you, haven't I? I'd say about $1,800 a month, approximately. So is that similar?
Similar? Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
similar to the US.
Yeah, well, it's all about the numbers, and the numbers generally sort of tie up one way or another. So, you know,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Right.
As long as you can buy at the right price. I mean, the nice thing is I would tend to buy a place that needs a little bit of doing up. And we discussed this over lunch. I'm not after a building that's fallen down in a rough area. I mean, the trouble is you can make a building nice in a rough area, but the area's not going to get better, is it?
Right.
So you want a place that needs a bit of work in a good area.
Right.
So the worst on the street in a good area, generally I find is good, and as long as it only needs bathroom, kitchen, reflooring and everything, bit of paint here and there, that's quite a good purchase.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So that's what we go for.
Yeah. So what are the biggest differences you've seen the UK and the US?
Well, there's lots of differences, aren't there? We're very different but very similar, you know, and I think you only see under the surface the differences. Buildings don't seem as well made over here. They are slapped up pretty quick, aren't there? There's a lot of timber frame here, isn't there?
Everything.
Yeah, timber frame was big in the probably in the 80s in the UK, and then it went for a really bad spell of rot and damage and all that sort of thing. And that might be climate driven as much as anything. I know you have termites over here, don't you, or something?
Not really, but I mean, like they exist, but I've never seen it.
Right, so that can be a little problem here. But I think it got knocked on the head a bit, timber framed in the UK, and now it's more brick built buildings, and so it always seems a bit more solid, shall we say? And you've only got to go around London; it's very historic. The buildings have been there for years, and the buildings the same on the front, the side, the back, the roof. Whereas obviously in America, it's all. I always look at it as a bit like when the Wild West started and you had the boardwalks and the frontage of the saloon.
Yep.
Well, the saloon looked grand and brilliant, but it was just a shed out the back.
Right.
And that seems to be what we see. Where we are, it seems to be a proper building that it's the same at the front, same at the back.
So you were talking about branding a little bit, where you were like, in the UK, we have like very subtle, more just like, I don't know how you would describe it, kind of branding, whereas America's branding with businesses is like more out there, in your face.
Yeah, I think we're just a little bit more subtle, maybe a bit more stylish. Is that fair to say?
Okay.
I know they wanted me to say that.
Yeah,
that's why
it's
they're
stylish,
laughing.
It reminds me of, what's the one movie? I mean, not 007, but Kingsman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of style. We don't have the amount of land you have. For starters, so you can, and we don't have the plan. We have much stricter planning rules than you have here. I'm absolutely certain of that,
right? Because
a lot of what goes on here, it seems to be get it up quick, get it out, get it sold. I think it's a little bit more restrained and a little bit more stylish. I think. I mean, the other guys picked up on the branding more than I did, but there is a certain amount of branding in the UK where there are household names for so long. It's 150 years, 200 years a brand could have stood for. Whereas I think in the US, the history is 100 years back, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, and how many companies have lasted that long?
Yeah, and they come and go here, and it's a different market.
Why do you think that these companies can last so long over there? How are they standing the test of time?
I don't know. They're very dominant, aren't they, I suppose?
Do you think that just like they kind of have a monopoly where it's like, nope, these are the guys and nobody else gets a chance?
Well, there's certainly a monopoly status to it, without a doubt. I mean, you look at the drinks market. I mean, the drinks market is probably dominated by US companies in the UK, without a doubt. And they don't let anything else in.
Right.
It's only just recently that, Prime's been launched, and with KSI and Logan on the back of it, that has penetrated the market. But drinks are very, very hard to get to market. It's a very, very fixed. I think it's a bit of a monopoly. Of course it is. They want to protect their market, and all the while they can sell Coke at a loss to stop someone else getting in for a period of time. They're going to do it, aren't they?
Wow. Well, I remember you saying something along the lines of, it's crazy that, we're driving around Vegas here and we're seeing like a bunch of little shops like all doing the same thing. Like, how are all these guys in business? Because in the UK, it's basically like one guy's going to win and everyone else loses.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
How does that, I don't get how that works, because like, is there just one restaurant, like one Asian restaurant? Is there like one cleaner?
It's not quite like that, but certainly in most towns. I think most towns, Vegas is a big place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you look at London Chinatown and compare it with Chinatown within Vegas, I mean, it's a blip, isn't it? London Chinatown compared with what you have here. So it just seems that there's so many people selling the same thing, packaging the same thing up in a slightly different way. And I just don't think you get that where we are. You know where you're going, what you're going to go and get, and that's it. Just the way it is.
You know who sells it already.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do people are they reluctant to try new things or change? Do you think that plays a role?
I don't think most people don't like change until it happens, and they embrace it at that point and enjoy it.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon's broken into the market big time, haven't they? So that's sort of changed the landscape. But then it's done the same here as well, hasn't it? So I think change is accepted once it happens.
Mm. So we was talking to your son Curtis about just online courses and education and stuff, and we were talking about just even my career. When I first got started flipping in 2015, I remember the stigma was, hey, don't buy education, don't buy any of this stuff, like, that's bad, scammers. And so I never did it starting out because I was told, hey, that stuff is bad and, everything should be free. And around 2020, when I got on social media 5 years later, I kind of went prevalent out there because I was just like, look, I mean, I'm going to, number one, help people and give great content. And number two, people are going to want to join the stuff I have. And so I'm just going to do it. And then now I think you see today, it's a different ball game where it's like, no, people want to buy education. They want to learn. They want to be a part of communities and memberships and all these things because they want to be around their people, because there's just locally, the stuff that you can now get online doesn't exist. Like, you can't go find all these other like-minded people like you could in Wealthy Investor or something else, right? So it's easier to join the whole community online. And that's where I see the world going, and everybody's a part of it. But you're saying in the UK, it has not happened that way yet.
Well, the first time I came to the US was 30 years ago, and I can remember seeing a presentation. I think it was by Tony Robbins back then.
Yeah.
And you had to buy these videos, and it was like you buy this video cassette for $19.99.
By the way, I can't believe he's been doing it for 40 years now.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
And I was taken in by, I thought, I've got to have this. And not only did you get that video, you got 20 others if you bought today.
Yeah.
And I was almost pressing the button to buy it, and then I realised the video cassettes over here are different to what we have at home. So I didn't buy that course. But if you'd have put that TV commercial on UK television up until about 10 years ago, it'd have flopped anyway. People would not have even looked at it. So you've had a culture of I would say, encouragement videos from that point, and then obviously coaching videos from maybe 10 years ago, should we say? And it's become quite a thing in the US. Well, UK is a little bit behind you guys with that, and it's always been, up until about now, it's been accepted that you can get help from a mentor, and it's worth buying a course to do that. And, you wouldn't be where you were without buying a course, I don't think, would you?
No.
Well, and several courses at that.
Lots of consulting, coaching courses.
And it's all money well spent. It's investing in yourself. And I think that's the turnaround that people looked at it to start with saying, well, I don't need this. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. I don't need any of that. But it's that investment in yourself that makes you go, oh, hang on, that joins a couple more dots up. And if I roll that into this empire I have here, or roll that one into this, it will make me better. It'll take me to that next level. And I think you always need help. You can get to a certain level, like you're saying, 250,000, then to 1 million, and so on. At certain stages, you need that extra little push, that extra little bit of guidance. And generally, and I would say now, the best way to get that is via a course of some type.
Yeah. No, 1,000%.
But you've got to be careful, of course, because as we mentioned, there are the ones that aren't so good out there. So, you've got to do your research. And we always say those that do, those that can't teach. So you've got to pick that right person that's done what they're, and still doing what they're teaching. Yeah, they've got to be involved in what they're teaching, I think.
Right. Well, I think a lot of the guys who weren't doing, because, I hear about that and I'm like, honestly, I don't see it anymore. I think that those guys have been flushed out.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's great because they can't compete with whether it's guys like me or whoever else who are out there giving all this free value and how do you compete with that? If somebody is going to go buy something, they're going to go with that guy or me if they have no idea who this guy is.
Well, to start with, it's not reputation-led. It's availability-led.
Yeah.
Eventually, it becomes reputation-led, and that's where people will buy. And I think that is the dynamic that's starting in the UK now. So reputation is by far the best thing. I mean, you can take a lifetime to build a reputation, just like myself, and you can take a week to lose it.
Yeah.
So, what you're going to do. I mean, someone with a reputation that's taken 35 years to grow isn't going to throw it away overnight.
Right.
So I think that builds a good amount of trust straight away. And you've taken a while to build your reputation.
Yep.
10 years, something like that.
Yep.
You don't knowingly wrong someone in any way, shape or form. So that's good reputation. And reputation sells without a doubt. And I think it sells better than endorsements as well, because I don't like endorsements, from celebrities and all that sort of thing. I mean, what do they really know? They've just been paid to go, yeah, this is good. Reputation means everything.
Yeah. So, because the thing they were saying in the car was like, if somebody was driving a Porsche with a nice watch, in America, they might be like, wow, like, that guy's doing good. Like, I wonder what he did. I want to learn. And you're saying in UK, they're going to be like, that guy's a prick. Like, he's just...
You've used a terminology there from the UK.
Yeah.
I think that again, is starting to change.
Yeah.
And it depends on the areas you're from. I know where our COO comes from. That's very much the case. But I think more in London and various places, I think there is a certain admiration for someone that's self-made and done well now. But it certainly used to be the case. Again, I always hark back to 30 years ago. It's the first time I came to the States. I was amazed at how much praise people got that had done well. For many years, I couldn't park a good vehicle outside of my businesses for the fear that people would go, well, he's ripping us off. If you can afford a car like that, I'm not going there. Why should I go there? Mm-hmm. And that's the wrong mentality, isn't it? You'd also get that from staff members as well. When I used to work as a carpenter and joiner, the boss always had decent cars, so did his right-hand man. I used to think, wow, they're doing well. That means we're doing well as a business. I've got a future here if I want it. Mm-hmm. Whereas others would go, well, why should I have that? But that is changing. That is changing for sure.
Yeah. So if somebody was going to try and get into social media today, what would you tell them?
Do it, because personal profile is good. And as we've just mentioned, building reputation from day one is good. The more you can film of your earlier life, the better as well.
Yeah. I wish people had videos of me flipping couches.
There you go.
That would have been great.
I wish I'd been better at taking photographs. I mean, people watch my videos on the Mark Tilbury channel and they'll look at them and go, oh, I've seen that picture before. I've seen that one before. We've only got so many of the back history. I would have loved to have documented the rise of my business and what we did, where it went wrong, all the way along, because I like that honesty path.
Yeah.
Because again, it's integrity, isn't it?
Right.
You can't have a path of 10 years or 35 years of not making mistakes.
Right.
So all of those things documented is great to go back to. So definitely, if you're looking to go into business, build your social profile at the same time, without a doubt, whether that's on TikTok or whether it's on YouTube or both or Twitter. Get out there and build your profile. I wish I'd done it sooner.
That's what Gary Vee says all the time, right? Document the process.
Yeah.
It's not that hard either, guys. Like, you can document the process with not a ton of work. Like, it's not this thing where you got to go film 40 hours a week, Yeah. So it's amazing. Well, number one, I think what you've done is amazing. I love hearing about the business. I think you being able to penetrate the U.S. market is cool. I
love the US, always have done. I love coming. I visited 13 states, by the way. I want to visit more. I've not done much on the East Coast.
Okay.
So the next one will be Boston and all the way down. And then I want to go across the states at some point as well with a nice drop top.
Yeah.
Which will be fun. We'll make a nice video on that.
You're going to road trip it.
Definitely.
Wow. Well, Mark, it's been good having you, man. Appreciate you having here in the States and looking forward to seeing all the other things you do, dude.
Much appreciated. And I wish you the best of luck as well. You've got a whole lifetime ahead of you as well, and you're going to have some fun along the way.
That's the goal. Well, guys, go follow Mark. Go check out the channel if you're trying to go learn all these different tips and tricks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. The good news is I've got another one that I know you're going to like, and all you got to do is click it right here. Linking it right here. All you got to do is just click it.
and you're going to see this new episode that you're going to love.